of what to do when there is a disagreement in other scriptures, right?
Sure.
But in Islam, Prophet has always told us what to do. He said, I left two things with you, the Quran and my tradition. If you hold on to them, you'll never get misguided after me. So that's a criteria. You hold on to the revelation, because that's why the revelation is sent. Revelation is sent to guide, solve disagreements, show you where the truth is.
Sure.
It's no longer your human intellect.
Yeah.
That's why coming back. I think so. Therefore, it's true. Arrogance again. Do you get the point?
Yeah.
You always return to that point if you deeply think about it. Now, about the learning after after the bad consequences you learn the hard way, I believe that can be in this life is okay. Maybe you can deal with it, right? Because it's just this life. But in the afterlife, where you have eternal consequences, you cannot rule with the same way, right? By the way, I do that rule with certain people I know, right? When I see that they're not listening, I just let them learn the hard way.
Yeah.
But this in this life.
I feel that.
Yeah, but this and this, because they don't want to accept what you say, they don't mind. Yeah?
Sure.
So you just let them learn the hard way. But we don't want you in an afterlife to learn the hard way, because that hard way is not like any hard way in this life.
Sure.
Any hard way in this life can be dealt with. In the afterlife, if you have an eternal bad consequence, you cannot deal with that, right? So it's not equal. It's not a similar kind of understanding. So then you have to put so much understanding into it and trying to make the correct decision the right way, rather than trying to learn the hard way or the easy way, right? Because Allah, He said He's not going to punish someone until He send him a messenger. Chapter 17 as well. He said He's not going to punish until He send a messenger. Why is Allah sending a messenger? To give you evidences and reasoning and understanding. So you don't say, I didn't know that was true,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
I didn't know, like I was like this, I was looking, right?
Yeah.
So Allah makes it clear.
It's a preventative measure.
Yeah, exactly. Preventative measure, and because that's why you exist, as a test. So then when you know the truth, test is whether you adopt the truth or you don't adopt the truth.
What we were talking about just a moment ago with regards to, you were talking about some of the missionaries that come here and some of the people that come here, and
Yes,
how
yes.
it's not, often it isn't a level playing field.
Yes.
I'm willing to humble myself enough to say that this is not a level playing field, this discussion, because we're talking about your religion, which you know
Sure.
inside now. And of course you don't know everything yet.
Sure.
And maybe until what you believe to be the afterlife, you won't know everything that there is
Sure.
to know. But you know as much as you can at your age about your religion,
Exactly.
which is a wonderful thing.
Sure.
I think that's a wonderful thing. But I don't know half as much about your religion.
Sure.
And I agree with the fundamental, if it is written in the Quran, and I have come across it, I've forgotten and I apologize, but this belief that you cannot judge something without understanding it first. You must understand something fully.
Sure.
And so I completely agree, and I feel as though I'm not fully equipped or armed with enough intensive knowledge of
Sure.
what we're discussing
Sure.
to debate. I cannot stand here as a
I understand.
ambassador of atheism
Yeah.
and lack of belief for everyone.
I hope you never be that, but yeah.
Against the leagues of people.
I hope you never be that. Anyways, so I agree with your point. I believe it's a very rational point, but I believe this is not the point I was making. Assalamu alaikum. Because we're not having a debate, we're having a discussion.
For sure, absolutely.
Right?
yeah.
So my intention is not to demean you.
No,
And
and
to
I don't
disprove.
feel that way at all.
If you
It's
if you felt that way,
no,
then it's
not
not,
at
it was
all.
not.
Talking to you two.
So,
and the
but
other
what
guys
happens
was really
there?
good.
What happens there is a debate.
Yeah.
Where you have two representatives, one trying to humiliate the other person,
Yeah.
and prove his point and prove the other person is ignorant, his religion is false. And also each person should be knowledgeable in his field,
Yeah.
not the other person's field.
Fair
So
enough.
it's not in us having a discussion. You don't have to be knowledgeable in Islam, but you know about your position.
Yeah.
That's why I'm speaking to you about your position. So if you know enough about your position, that's it. You can defend your position, and I can present my position.
I think it puts atheism in a because if we talk about atheistic text, I suppose there's lots of things that could be referred to: Dawkins, Hitchens, Rushdie, any of these people you can go to and use them in the same way, but it doesn't.
Well, I read their books. That's why.
For sure, exactly, and that's why I try.
That's
That's why I
that's
read
why-
the Torah and the
yeah,
Bible while
yeah,
working my way through
yeah,
the
yeah,
Quran,
that's
because
it, yeah. Yes.
I meet people who are atheist also,
Yeah.
but they've never made any attempt to actually read religious texts. They just are atheists because they just fundamentally
Can I say
within
something
themselves
about that?
don't believe anything.
When
which
you
is
say
fine,
say
but
the books of Richard Dawkins,
Sure.
Lawrence, who made these people the representatives of atheism?
I don't think anybody did, and I don't think that they themselves.
Therefore,
I think it is self-declared.
therefore
I
there
believe
is
that
not.
it is self-declared.
Therefore, there is no longer something called atheism where you have to be acquainted with before you have a discussion.
Sure.
Because
Fair
atheism,
enough.
yeah,
I
that's the
see
point
that-
I
I
was
see
trying.
that point,
Yeah, because
absolutely.
atheism is just whatever the person decides in his worldview, right? So your worldview will be different than every other atheist. Like 2 minutes ago, like few minutes ago, we were talking with two different worldviews, you know. So the point is, every atheist has a worldview. Muslims all have the same worldview.
Okay.
So they can be acquainted with their worldview from
Yeah.
that sense. But an atheist just has to know why he holds his position.
For sure.
And a Muslim has to present his position. And I've been here maybe for a few years here. Been here. I never went to debates.
Yeah.
My videos are online, yeah, tens of videos. None of them is debates because I don't see that much benefit coming from it. I don't see much benefit come from it. I prefer having a discussion, talking to the person,
I agree with
person representing his position, I represent, and then I'm saying go do your research.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe
Oh,
me,
no,
man. You don't have
absolutely.
to
He does that.
go fact
I
check.
Always
I
says
agree
that.
with
Do
you.
your
Yeah.
own research.
Which I do
Don't
think is the
believe me. Yeah.
I do think that being an autodidact and doing your own study is the most important thing that you
Yeah,
can do.
definitely.
Whatever avenue it leads you to.
It will lead you to the truth, I guarantee. If you're sincere, as I said,
Eric,
it
I
will
wanted
lead you to
to
the
ask
truth.
you, have you read the biography of Prophet Muhammad or any studies of Muhammad?
Outside of reading what I have read of the Quran, and I mean, obviously these atheistic texts, they have analysis and they have interpretations of the story of Muhammad.
The Quran.
I'm here to collect literature off
One very
people,
essential
yeah.
point. The Quran is not the words of Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
So we don't believe anything here is Prophet Muhammad's. He is his words.
No,
We believe he's just conveying the words
Yeah.
of God. So if he says read the biography, he's referring to what we call the history of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And that history of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not based on subjective understanding, like atheist says something, a Muslim says something. It's history, right? So what you have to look at a book that is giving you the authentic history, because we have authentic and non-authentic narrations, and we have a science of knowing how something is authentic, how something isn't, right? If you read a book with authentic narration, that's now history. It's an objective thing. That's events that took place, right? It's no longer interpretation how you would see, how an atheist would see it, how a Muslim would see it. But what some people do, some people who have an agenda against Islam, they take the narrations which we don't believe
Negative,
are authentic,
basically.
We believe these are lies. And they start building a character based on these ideas and presenting the Prophet. That's why you have to read what Muslims say. Do you know why you have to read the biography from Islamic sources? You have to. Do you know why? Because Islamic sources are the only people who actually recorded it.
Sure.
These people didn't record it, they just pick it and choose it. So you have to read from the source, the original source, which are the people who actually recorded it. The Arabs and the Muslims who were there, who recorded the biography of the Prophet. So a fair person will never go to external sources. He will read from the original sources.
Absolutely.
And we don't hide our things. We don't hide what the Prophet did or didn't. That's why they come and say, why your Prophet did it. We don't say that's not true. If it's true, we deal with it. If it's not true, we tell them we don't believe that. That's not true.
Yeah.
Right? So we never hid anything in our Islamic tradition. That's why you see some people coming with arguments. We didn't choose what is best, what is befitting of the Prophet, and what is good, and then we put it. No, everything the Prophet did, we put it the way the Prophet did. They believe that if you lie about the Prophet, it's your door to hellfire. The Prophet said that. So you cannot lie about the Prophet. You have to say the things the way they happen. So his point was about reading the biography. Have you read any biographies of Muslim sources?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. So there is a good biography called The Sealed Nectar, if you want to read it. Sealed Nectar. It's available in English, and it has authentic narrations within it. If you want to read it, it will give you the history of how Prophet Muhammad lived, what he did, what he didn't do. I believe is very, very important, right? But maybe after you finish the Quran, because you're not finished the Quran yet. Finish the Quran, read the biography, right? And if you don't understand the verse, there's always a context, right? Not just in the verse, context of revelation. Because the Quran did not come like one book. It came in 23 years. A lot of it was circumstantial. Something happened, so revelation came. Like I said to you, they ask you about the soul, and then the Prophet responds. So that was the circumstance. A group of people coming testing the Prophet from the people of the book. They were seeing what is he going to say. Prophet got revelation and responded to them with revelation, right? So a lot of it was even on the dot, you know. It was on the dot. That's why it's very fascinating that you don't find any contradictions. Because if you're just making up something on the dot for 23 years.
Can you show me my number?
No. He's calling me. You want your number? I show you. I have to show him his number. He forgot his number. Don't laugh, guys. Don't laugh. Wait. He has so many numbers as well, man.
Is it
Why
new
you have so
number?
many numbers?
This one, yeah? Sorry. I lost where I was. Yeah. So the biography, the Prophet came, the revelation came for 23 years. Therefore, if you were making it up, you will have contradictions. But the Quran is claiming that if you have a single contradiction, then it's not from God. Right? So if you read it, if you investigate, if you read the biography and then look at it, right? And then do the second step, which is the key to actually knowing whether God exists or not, which is humbling yourself, trying to ask God to actually guide you to the truth, yeah? Because I cannot do it and no one else can do it. Asking God to guide you to the truth after your investigation and finding the evidences. If you do that, I guarantee you will come to Islam. Because only Islam, on a claim I'm making, only Islam has evidences for its claims. Like the Quran says, like Jews and Christians say that you'll only enter paradise if you're Jew or Christian. Allah says, produce your proof if you're truthful. That's the methodology of the Quran. Where is the proof for that claim you're making? Right? So if someone makes a claim to you, you have to look for the proofs, evidences for that claim. And only the Quran is preserved as a ancient religious scripture, right? From the major religions. So that's a key point in order for you to know whether it's from God or not. Or otherwise you don't know whether it's what God said and what humans said, because there's corruption, right? So my humble advice would be just to finish reading the Quran.
Absolutely.
Try in the biography of the Prophet. Yeah. Try in the biography of the Prophet. We're here, right? Almost like majority of the weeks. If you have any questions, come. You can ask me or any of the good brothers that are out here. But people who are qualified, remember what I said, because laymen can tell you something wrong that we don't necessarily agree with, right? Because they didn't even study their own religion. So the other people will give you based on revelation. So what you do is that if you have any question, look for the people who are known, ask them the question, and look for the answers they give you. If you're not satisfied with one, ask another person from these people. He might have a different answer to you that will satisfy your curiosity regarding that point, right? And in the end, as I said to the other two people, guidance is only from Allah. I cannot guide. He cannot guide. Can only give you the message. That the pure message of Islam is pure monotheism to one creator, one supreme being that we should divert our actions to. And we should have him always in mind why we're here. Because it's a test, and the test will come to an end, right? So that's how we live our lives as Muslims. And that's why we don't have anxiety, we don't have depression, we don't have issues in our life. Because our foundation is strong. And it's not based on something that is materialistic that will go. If I base my happiness over my wife can die any day. Yeah? And then I'm depressed. Some people base it on a football player, right? And then whenever that thing goes, which eventually will go because it's, the world, everything goes, right? Including you will be depressed. But if your basis is something which is eternal, right? That peace and that anxiety will always be there. But just try it.
You'll need to back that claim up, though, in the
Which one?
spirit of Islam. Then,
Which one?
saying that people of the faith of Islam do not suffer from depression and anxiety and these things.
I didn't say that.
Okay, but you said
I
it's
mean,
not something that we have.
I might have said that, but what I meant by that, if I have said that, what I meant by that, if you live a righteous life, that's what the Quran says. فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. We'll give him a righteous life in chapter 16. I can give you the verse now. Whoever believes, from male or female, and does righteous deeds, that's what Allah says is the criteria. Believes, does righteous deeds. فَلَنُحْيِيَنَّهُ حَيَاةً طَيِّبَةً. We'll give him a good life. But what is our definition of good life, right? So our definition, when we say anxiety, by default you will have to have some anxiety and depression in your life.
That's the human
But I mean when you have it, how do you interpret it?
Sure.
That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So when I lost a relative, for example, right? To me, that's not the same depression and anxiety that someone has. Why? Because I know that there is an afterlife where I'm going to meet that person. For instance, right? If I lost money, lost X, I know that God has written things, ordained things, so I'm not worried about that thing. So these religious things, for me as a person, now I'm speaking from my point of view, does not give me any, does not allow me to have any depression or anxiety. Personally, me. So anyone who understands, like the Quran says, believes, correct belief of Islam, he will not have anxiety in his life. If you look at the Palestinians, what is happening there right now, the Palestinians are the people who are the most acceptance of the circumstances, even though they're suffering the most. Why? The guy just lost his house. He was going to get married and he says, Alhamdulillah, thanks to Allah. Thanks to Allah for everything. Because he knows things are ordained. Man, I'm here. Tomorrow I'm not going to be here. So let me look for my afterlife. If I have patience, God will reward me for my patience.
All about patience.
And that will benefit me in where I'm really going on my journey. That's what I mean by saying anxiety and depression. I don't mean never having anxiety and depression. That's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible.
It happens of something that
I should have worded it better, definitely. But what I mean,
I see. I see that interpretation.
Yeah,
I understand that interpretation.
that's our understanding of
Don't
it.
mind if I smoke. By the way. Do you? No, that's fine.
That's fine. So, what would stop you now, as a person, from adopting a religion, if you find evidences to prove this from God?
Again, it's the same two things. If it's not, so what you said about at the beginning
I
about
don't think it's raining. You don't have to hold it.
I was protecting from the wind, my brother.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't
Thank
want
you.
me to,
No, thank you. I thought you were
I
thinking it was
appreciate it.
rain.
It's very
Oh,
kind.
thanks.
It's very
It's
kind.
very
that's why I
100%.
asked you.
No,
to
he
say
said
it.
that to me earlier. I said,
Oh, I didn't notice. I didn't notice.
It is windy.
I said to
Because I saw you struggling, so I didn't want you
definitely
struggling too much.
I don't mind for struggling for a less
What would
Same
stop
two
me-
things you said.
What would
Same
have
two
stopped,
things.
yeah, what would have stopped me adopting a religion? I mean, one, it's an emotional basis. I don't have it within
Do you want to
me.
talk a
I don't
bit more
feel
about
it.
the personal aspect of camera? Now,
We're more than welcome to, yeah. Sure.
yeah. So we just end the conversation here from the rational basis, yeah?
I will say though, for
Yeah.
whatever chance
If you wanna
is
say anything,
putting out,
for you, but
yes.
and I'm happy to take them
Yeah,
because
definitely. What do you want
I
to say?
come from an atheistic perspective that's not particularly
Yeah.
popular among atheists, which is it's my belief that in its earliest infancy, all religion, regardless of name, was a beautiful concept. And it existed because of our fear of death and because of our fear of the unknown. So we had to have something to justify to ourselves our time here and the meaning of life. And it's my opinion that within of it, for example, my granddad is Catholic. And we disagree on a lot of stuff, as you may imagine. But that Catholicism, after all the things he's seen in his life, makes him happier, and it brings him peace, it brings him joy. And he's read the Quran, he's read the Torah, he's been to Israel, he didn't just pick a religion out of the air, he did the research, and that's what he came to. And fine, that's his
We'll
decision.
come back to the key I
We
was
will.
referring to.
but that's what brings him peace in his twilight years as he nears death.
Sure,
because
sure.
really he doesn't know what death's going to be.
So-
And he's afraid. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. But when human arrogance began to intervene with religion, it's very difficult for me to accept religion into my life. Even if I felt it innately, I'd find it very difficult to ever ascribe to any kind of organized religion. And I believe that an individual's spiritual beliefs, if you have them, is a very different thing to the ascription to religion. And my reason for that differing is because I cannot agree with any institution of thought that has led to the death and suffering of so many people all over the world.
Now I would have to say
And that's
that
all of them, by the way.
that-
That's not just Islam, of course.
Sure.
That's all of them.
I would have to say now. I would have to say now.
like you,
I would
you
have
like
to say now. I would have to say now. You made so many points, right? And these points needs to be dealt with.
Let's do
It needs
it.
to be dealt with.
Let's do that.
So because these are separate points, right, and separate discussions, and some of them I believe are not valid logically. Like for example, when you say we're born, because of our fear of death, we ascribe to religion. Children don't think about fear of death.
Sure.
Why do they have the innate belief of a creator?
How is that proven? How is it proven that a
the
child...
research that we were describing, like Oxford University could not study 57 academics
Okay.
on children.
Okay. I would
They-
like... Do you have that study?
Yeah, just research
you?
now.
Okay.
Research now. And you'll find it. in
I
Google.
don't have
Google
internet
straight
access,
away.
but I'll write down.
Yeah, if you want, yeah, it's easy. You just so that's one example. Yeah, that's not the only research as well. Another Japanese social scientist, she made a study as well because her colleague told her in Japan we don't believe in God. We have Shinto religion. So she made the study to disprove that point. And the children responded by kami-sama. Kami-sama in Japanese means God. Right? So they believe in a creator. You'll find many studies
By the
proving
way,
that
these
point.
research affirm what Muhammad has said and what Islam says.
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
Alayhi salatu wassalam. Yeah, peace be upon him. Affirms Islam and what he said.
Okay.
So his argument.
Next time I'm here, I'm going to be stacked with academic papers.
No problem.
I really
No
am. I'm
problem.
going to have to come one
I don't
more
mind.
time.
I don't
See, I've never been to Speaker's
It's
Corner
not- trust
before.
me, it's not
I've
debate.
I've
It's
never
not
been.
debate.
No, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
It's not
it isn't.
debating you.
I've never been to Speaker's Corner before, and I didn't know that it was such a heavily religious place where religion was the main speaking
we're
point,
trying
which
to
it
have
appears to
we're
be.
trying to have a fruitful discussion here.
No, we get everyone.
And
No,
I'm having a
Muhammad
wonderful
said, we're
time. I'm
trying
having a
not to make
wonderful
it.
time.
This is they're mentioning the study here. If you just Oxford University study
Okay.
about innate belief in God,
As soon as I get home, that's
it's
the first
straight
thing I'm
away
gonna
it'll pop
do.
up the first. Look, Oxford University got human thought, got part of human thought.
Okay.
Oxfordstudent.com. Yeah. So it's not something we made up, you know.
I'm not saying.
Yeah,
it's
I
not
know.
alcohol.
I'm just saying that disproves your point.
But you don't think that innate belief in God is something
That was your first
has-
point. There's two
has-
more points. Remind me to come back to them.
Do you not believe that innate belief in God that children have? Once I've read that study and affirmed that or whatever, do you not believe that is sort of a social doctrine that is passed down?
I have a lecture I have to give, so I definitely need to go very soon. But yeah, no, but not now.
Yeah, he's
Very
coming
soon.
next week, he said.
Very soon. Yeah.
I will be here next
Yeah. So what
or
you were
maybe
saying?
the week after.
Sorry, what you were saying?
That innate belief in God and everything. So if we're looking at how old are the children in that study roughly? Do you know?
Very young ages. Very young ages.
Okay.
If you look, you give it very young age children.
So-
I believe under 6. I believe. If I
Okay.
remember correctly. Could
So
be.
between zero, so it's been proven psychologically that between birth and the age of 3 is obviously when your brain is soft tissue and you absorb the most information and you're taking in the world through completely fresh eyes, and that's the most important stage of your development as a human
Sure,
being, and
sure.
it shapes the rest of our lives psychologically.
But that
speaking.
proves our point. You know why?
Right, but that also proves the
no.
counterpoint.
Can I
which
tell you
is
why it proves my point?
religion is in everything. So if between the ages of 0 and 3, you are soaking up everything. Religion and the discussion of God and deity is within everything that you're taking.
If you're born, I'm telling you, you're struggling. I'm telling you, if you're born in China, that religion is not a part of your life. It's the opposite.
Okay.
You don't even hear about. Do you know what they're doing today to the Uyghur Muslims in China? Concentration camps, killing Muslims in China, and the point is that their religion is the complete opposite of what you should do. So no one will teach you that. You get the point?
Right.
So they done studies on children in Chinese and Japanese who have the Shinto religion, which doesn't have the idea of God.
Sorry.
Yeah, which doesn't have the idea of God, which proves the point. Children are still saying they believe in a creator. Every civilization out there still believes in a creator. So if it was just the fear of death, it would not exist of such a young age. It would not exist in such a young age. And even if they heard it, they would not necessarily adopt it. Unless they start thinking about death in your paradigm. But you don't think about death until way later on.
But then again, the reason why a child may interpret that everything has to come from a creator is because in the pursuit.
'Cause it's innate.
And this was an example that you gave to me earlier.
He's
No, we
following
are.
his nature.
It's logical.
Right,
It's logical.
Logical,
Exactly. It's just it is that thing. But in the pursuit of the acquisition of knowledge, like you said earlier, I was given an example by you earlier about this hat and how was this hat brought into existence? Was it made by the rock itself, the matter itself?
Yeah.
Was it made by a toddler,
Yeah.
or was it made by a man with a PhD? And it
Yeah.
must have been the man with a PhD
Yeah.
because he has both the intellect and the resources and the physical capability, which
Yeah.
those other two they don't have. So a toddler cannot comprehend creating a hat, for example, because whilst it's conscious and whilst it's sentient, it does not have the skill and the knowledge, and it hasn't been learned yet, right? So that same toddler is completely only able to base its logic and rationale on what it sees every day, and so therefore it sees things being made in front of it. Its mother makes a meal, for example.
You know that's
and
our
it's-
point?
And it,
But that's how.
how is that?
I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. Look, a point is you're born. That's the argument we're making.
Yeah, but as you get older and you
Can I-
acquire more knowledge,
No,
you
I'll ex-
learn that not
I'll ex-
everything is like
I'll
that.
explain what I mean.
Explain
But
the-
why, when you're young, believe that? Why are you, when you're young, you believe that? That's the point we're making.
Right.
Because Allah have placed that within you, that things that exist must require something else to create them. Creation is a part of your innate fitrah. You know if there is something, comes from somewhere. That's
Okay.
the innate part. Now, when you grow up, you learn something contrary to that. That's not the point. We're talking about the innate disposition that is not changed by human understanding yet. That innate disposition tells you that, oh, there is a tree, must be a creator for this tree. That's the point we're making. That's the innate disposition we're talking about, right? And that's what proves that there is an innate part put by God, so it's not fear of death now. And you're also disproving your point, because now you said it's rational, it's no longer fear of death, right? So that's the first point you made. The second point you made was what? Was more about organized religion, yeah? That's the second point you made.
Sure.
You said organized religion. Where did you get that term from? What do you mean by organized religion?
Okay, so with regards to organized religion, not on a purely, linguistic level, because that can be interpreted as many different things. Institutionalized religion that like I was talking earlier with a gentleman about the separation of church and state, and how that in the West is mostly an established, we are not governed necessarily by religion in terms of politics anymore.
But you're institutional. You have been conditioned to believe that's correct. Why is that correct?
Why is what correct? Sorry.
Separation from religion and state. Why is that correct? You have an assumption first. Your
For
assumption.
the same reason that I cannot murder someone and then in court say, because God told me to, and be taken seriously. If I murder someone and in court I say, if I were from Islam and I murdered someone today and I was in court and I said, Allah told me to do it.
Yeah, we'll
I
say
will
to
be
you
sent
where.
to prison.
We'll say to you where. No, we'll say to you where.
No, I understand that, but
Look, the assumption is the following. And the example you gave is an extreme example. Why? Because the religion we believe in does not command you to do anything evil. Therefore, you cannot use it as a justification for anything bad. Morality, by definition, comes from God. Therefore, whatever you're going to do, if it's really taken from the scripture correctly, then it's not wrong. If it's taken incorrectly, if you go to the court in Islam, because we had Islamic courts and people trying to justify things, then they are refuted with the Islamic scripture and they're punished for their actions. Right. Islam has a law. If you kill an innocent person, then there's a punishment for you.
sure.
Right? So Islam doesn't say kill whoever you want to kill. Yeah, it says the opposite. There is punishment for it. It's one of the worst things you could do, right? In Islam. Therefore, that example doesn't apply.
Okay.
Now I'm saying why. Now I said religion. I didn't say a specific religion that orders you to kill. I'm saying why necessarily do we have to separate religion from state? That's an assumption that you adopted from a liberal point of view, and you moved based on that, and you called it organized religion. I'm calling it organized liberalism. Why should we adopt organized liberalism over organized Islam? If you want to call it organized,
I mean, I certainly don't want to stand here and defend modern liberalism as it currently exists.
If it has a definition to begin with.
True, but I certainly feel as though in terms of...
Sorry, just a quick question. Can I, when you finish, talk about Hatun and what she's done here today?
Yeah, the police thing, I don't know what happened.
We don't know.
I didn't-
Just after we finish the discussion,
Yeah.
maybe we talk about
Wait,
it.
wait.
We talk to you after we finish the discussion. I'll come to you. Yeah, no
yeah,
problem.
I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah, sure.
In terms
Yeah.
of...
You can go to him as well after the discussion.
I
no
mean,
problem.
modern liberalism is it's not the same... I ascribe personally more to libertarianism.
Or anything you ascribe to. My question is, why?
Why do I believe that religion should not
Why
be-
are you saying that takes precedence over religion when it comes to state, and that's correct? That's an assumption, right? It's unproven assumption. Therefore, the minute you call something organized, you will be following something organized yourself. That's the
Absolutely.
point
It's
I wanted to make.
impossible not to, I
Therefore, you have to prove that whatever you're saying should be there is more valid than whatever you're refuting, and you can't do that. So then you don't have a point by saying organized religion. Because there's always organized something. If it's not organized religion, it's an organized state, organized laws, something. You will be organized and governed by something. Either way.
Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
organized government, even with the absence of religion,
Yeah.
has led to the death and destruction of
Yeah,
so
because
many...
there's no morality in it. That's the
fair
point
enough.
we're making.
For sure, but
Yeah.
but that does not take away
Yes.
the historical implications of religion and the division.
Which
that
religion?
Any of them.
Give me in Islam the problems. Which problems you're referring to?
Okay.
Look, I'm here to defend Islam, yeah?
For sure.
I'm not here to talk about crusades or Hitler or which was an atheist reality or this or that. I'm not here to defend these things. I'm here to defend Islam, right? And when you look at Islam, when Islam was
That implies
implied...
that Islam is under attack by me, which it certainly
No,
isn't.
we're not saying that.
I'm only here.
We're not
and
saying
my
that.
my only reason for being here today was to learn more. So I'm not.
Sure.
You're not going to come up against, as you probably do every week.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Islamophobes.
I'm not. Yeah. That's not me for a start.
Yeah,
And I'm
definitely you're not.
I'm certainly
I would concur you're not.
And
Definitely.
I'm certainly not.
You're a very
here-
nice individual, having
Thank
a
you.
rational discussion,
As-
open-minded.
as are both of you. And I'm certainly I'm here to learn things, and I believe that the mark of an intellect is an individual whose mind is willing to be changed.
Definitely.
And I believe that a bad theory is one that can't be unproven. But
Not necessarily, but I agree. Majority of things, yes, but not everything, because certain things you have to hold for certainty in order for you to even use logic to begin with, right?
Sure.
Like you have to admit you
I
exist.
just mean in terms
with
of
axioms.
a theory.
Yeah,
in
I agree.
terms of what a theory
I
is.
agree.
And of course, your argument is that Islam is not a theory; it is gospel, so to speak. You know?
Yeah, well,
Maybe you wouldn't use that word.
Yeah,
but you
but
know
no
what I
problem.
mean, you know
No
what I
problem.
mean.
No problem. I can see your majority of your understanding of religion is coming maybe from your grandfather or Catholicism or previous Christian tradition. But if you really study Islam, really, you would realize the very big difference that Islam has as a structure.
For sure.
Yeah, it's different.
I've
It's
said
different.
I've said today in discussions that Islam is certainly of the big three of religion, I suppose. It is the one that relies most heavily on logic and reason.
So I'll tell you why I made that point
And
about
I
the
do
Islamic.
concede that point.
I'll tell you why I was making that point about Islamic history, because you made a point. I was just saying that point was not valid, which is about organized religion. That is why I said Islamic history does not fall under that paradigm, which is that Islam, something else should take precedence to it when it comes to the state. We don't agree with that to begin with. So therefore, the argument from saying organized religion doesn't work with Islam. That's the point I was trying to make, right? Last point you made, which was about suffering and not suffering, and that's a long discussion, right? The point is this. Let's summarize it in few words. Can you know what is good if you don't know what is bad? If there was only evil in the world or good in the world, would you know what the opposite is?
No, but that's if you ascribe to the belief that good and evil are in fact polar opposites.
You want to have a moral discussion? What is your position on morality?
That's I'll need the question to be slightly less vague for me to
Okay,
provide any kind of
Do you
answer.
believe are you a moral relativist? Do you believe morality changes over time? Do you believe that morality, a more realist? Do you believe that there is morality in reality, it's objective? What is your position on morality?
I think it's individualistic, and I think it depends on the
Subjectively.
person. Yeah, I think it's certainly subjective, and I think that
So if you made that claim, you just disprove your point. If morality is subjective, then there is no really right or wrong. There is no suffering, because suffering doesn't exist on a subjective level. So what is the point? It's just don't worry about it. The point is this, morality can only work on an objective point frame, right? It can only work on an objective framework. You can make a point of this is good or bad only if you have an objective point of view. If you don't, then it's just
societally speaking, yes. But
no, then it's just your view. If it's not, then it's your view, which he can disagree with, I can disagree with. So in reality, if morality is subjective, equals no existence of morality. Because it's just now a human construct of the mind, dependent on the person how he decides things to be, right? And that's a big issue. That means what Hitler did was right for him, what this person did was right for him. That's a big, huge issue, right? So, and you believe innately, and every human believes innately, which is a part of the fitrah, that there is good and bad.
sure.
But you cannot prove good and bad without an objective moral source. And that comes back to the point of Allah giving us objective morality, or a creator giving you objective morality in order for you to make that claim. So in Islam we say you cannot know the good without the bad, and this life is a test. If Allah does not allow you to do evil, then how is that a test? He cannot punish you if you didn't do evil, right? He cannot reward you if you didn't do good. If Allah, everyone is I'm gonna hit him and Allah stops me, then how can Allah punish me for hitting him? I didn't hit him, right? So then it renders the test invalid. Therefore Allah has to leave that room